Number 2 on our list of top 10 stories of 2017. In New Mexico, gun violence and violent crime remains in the headlines. It was our number 1 on our list last year. In the areas we're taping today, 71 homicides have been reported so far in Albuquerque. That is the highest in recent history. And, you know, when you throw that number on the table, we have to keep in mind we've had some changes in training. We've had some changes in all kinds of things for APD, but here we are again with this number. How are citizens supposed to feel about the safety of our city with all these changes? We're still setting records for homicides.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is we've been here for, talking about crime for a good year and a half or two.
That's right.
And I feel like maybe no one really has the answer still, and there's a lot of finger pointing. So now we are heading into a new year. There's some conversation, as mentioned earlier, about trying to beef up the police force. Right. There's a lot of back and forth on laws and whether inmates are cycling through the system a little too much. It's hard to say. I feel like there isn't necessarily one group who is taking on or willing to kind of take the responsibility for what has happened.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Yeah, and then there'll also probably be in the next year some interesting data approaches to trying to fight this crime. So hopefully it just feels like a full force of attention on this, and we'll see if it actually materializes.
Exactly right. We've got a lot of crime up and down the ladder, Dan Boyd, but gun violence really freaks people out. How do you get rid of guns? That's the problem I talk about with folks all the time. They're out there. So unless you take them, there's going to be a difficulty in decreasing this kind of a thing. It's hard.
Yeah, no, I think that's really difficult. And, you know, obviously people in Albuquerque, I think there's been stories of store owners, you know, staying in their stores with a gun to try and protect their stores. I mean, so there becomes that kind of vigilante mindset a little bit too when people don't feel safe in their community.
Right. That's right. It's a cycle, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know I don't think there is simple answers to
right.
that.
Matt, it's a difficulty. I know you live in Santa Fe, but you do a lot of work down here. In the overall sense, you know, what is this costing us on a continuing basis about our reputation, about investment here? You know what I mean? Unless we get our arms around this, a whole lot of things can't move forward for us.
Right, and I think it's costing a lot. We'll never know, of course. Right. You know, you can't add up who didn't come here, kind of a thing. I think a lot of it is societal, and Dan, who you gave such an easy question to, how do you get
You caught that.
But I think there really is a question, and then how does it tie in with mental health?
Right.
And we have a real difficulty providing that here in the state.
Right.
And it hasn't gotten any easier recently. It's gotten worse.
Right.
And I think that it's going to be a question that plagues New Mexico as a whole for a really long time. And I think, you know, we look at what's happening in Aztec just recently, what's happened with Roswell.
That's right.
And you know, this kind of stuff just breaks everyone's heart. But Inez alluded to it when we were talking a little bit before. You know, the news cycle moves so quickly. Not a lot of attention often gets paid to it if it's not a huge thing, quote unquote. Right. And B, I think we get desensitized to it.
Right.
It's a really, really difficult issue, and I think one, as Mary sort of talked about, that we're going to be talking about for a really long time.
That's right. And depending on where you go in the state, Inez, there's a different feeling perhaps in Cruces than Albuquerque, than Santa Fe, than Taos. You know what I mean? Guns are a very, you know, Second Amendment rights are what they are, and folks support those. But I don't think that's the issue, though. It's really not owning a gun. It's all this other stuff that seems to happen with guns. And so outside of federal restrictions, is there anything lawmakers could do here? I mean, that's a hard one.
Well, I don't think it's actually as hard as people make it out to be. If you take the NRA out, take the anti-gun advocates, get the sides out of it, and talk about normal things, like maybe teach people not to leave their loaded gun on a coffee table where a kid can kill himself.
As a start, yep.
Every gun owner should lock his guns up. They should lock their ammunition up. You do those things, all of a sudden the 30,000 or so gun deaths a year, you could reduce harm. So you focus on reducing harm. It turns out in New Mexico we have a constitution that doesn't allow cities to make their own laws. So we have a guy in Santa Fe who has open carry, who wants to go to city council meetings carrying his gun, and can because the city can't restrict him.
That's right.
And that doesn't seem to make sense in a situation where people are already nervous about guns. So I think you start looking at ways to reduce the violence of guns and do more buybacks, do more things that gets guns off the street, and talk about reducing harm, treat it as a public health emergency, not as a constitutional fight.
That's right. That's a good point there. You know, Matt, one of the more interesting subjects we tackled here at this table the past year regarding domestic violence, it turned out there's a thought out there that's going on across the country that there is a time to take a gun away from a man when he is proven to be a perpetrator of domestic violence in the house.
Yes.
That has shown, the numbers show, there's a high likelihood of that gun being used on a woman in that house once that has happened, and the idea to take that gun away for a year, for a certain amount of time as a cooling off period, is getting some traction. Is that someplace we could start here in New Mexico? Because that's part of our issue here.
There are limits, you know,
Yeah.
on rights. You know, a constitutional right. I mean, that's why we have a court system to address that sort of thing. I personally don't think that goes too far. I mean, we saw if that doesn't get addressed, which to some extent it did with the Texas shooter by San Antonio, who spent time in the military here. That was addressed through the criminal justice system in the military, but that didn't cross over into the National Criminal Information System that we have.
That's right.
And we see what happens. I don't know how much more evidence we need. I think it's really clear out there, and it does. As Inez said, it has to get past somehow, we're going to come take your guns, or we're going to repeal the Second Amendment. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But there are so many guns, and we keep hearing about people who shouldn't have them or shouldn't have access to them. And I think that in that arena, there's a lot of agreement. People start to see real similarities, like, okay, this was too far, this was too much.
That's right.
Bump stocks, that sort of thing. Paul Ryan, who's a hunter up in Wisconsin and the Speaker of the House, didn't know what a bump stock was. I mean, you know, at some point you have to take a really hard look.
That's right.
I don't know if this is the climate to do it that.
Right, that could be interesting. Now we'll leave that there. Up next, we talk about the top news story of 2017 in our annual countdown here on New Mexico in Focus.